All right, we're gonna get going again. This is the last session of today, and you are in for a treat. It was Dr. Laurie Morrison's very wise idea to use mindfulness-based meditation as a part, mindfulness-based stress reduction as a part of our day. And as I mentioned this morning, our intention is to take care of you, not just spew a lot of information at you. And I think that I have felt very taken care of in the sessions that I've been to today, and I hope that you feel that way too. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my dear friend and colleague, Kimberly Carson. Kimberly, I'll tell you her official titles here, and then I'm going to tell you just a brief anecdote about who she is as a human being. She's a health educator and yoga therapist at Oregon Health and Sciences University. She specializes in the therapeutic aspect of mindfulness and yoga for seniors and people living with serious illnesses. Kimberly has taught mindfulness-based stress reduction courses for close to 20 years and offers these classes to departments of cardiology, oncology, the pain center, and internal medicine patients. And she, along with her husband, James, have developed the Mindful Yoga program and teach at Duke when they are not raising their twins and working at OHSU, although the twins are quite raised by now, aren't they? Yeah, empty nester. But I want to share with you, I had the privilege of getting to know Kimberly when she worked with our program in oncology at Oregon Health Sciences University. And for a few years, I got to share an office with her every Wednesday, as I recall. And every Wednesday was a really good day for me. And it wasn't because of anything other than Kimberly. I just felt better being in her presence. And I think that our patients have told us the same thing. She has some really remarkable stories around healing with the students and patients who have been in her classes. And I, without further ado, I want to give you the gift of Kimberly Carson.
So in some ways, what I'm going to do this afternoon is so very simple-minded. So I've listened to these really beautiful talks and so appreciative of all the work that is happening and the just extreme love and commitment to people and to wellness that is demonstrated here. So this is going to be so simple compared to so much of what has been offered. And sometimes the simplicity is really what we need. Yeah, sometimes that is really what we need. And I mentioned to our plenary speaker, as I listened to her talk this morning, I laughed multiple times because I have the same quotes in my talk. And and I promised, submitted it to the to the board before I heard your talk. So resilience in the eye of the storm. Okay, so this is going to be a talk on mindfulness, but my hope is that it's much more of an experience. Okay, because mindfulness is really nothing without experience. And in a lot of ways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to echo, I hope, the importance that was spoken this morning of dignity and compassion. Okay? And mindfulness actually at its core is just that. It's sometimes described that mindfulness practice and mindfulness capacity is really like two wings of a bird. Okay? And one of those wings of the bird is dignity. It's our ability to be present. It's our birthright. It can't be taken away from us. Okay? And then the other wing is love. It's compassion. Right? It is that innate connectivity that we have. So I'm hoping that as we go through this talk, and I'm going to do a little bit of the science, but not a lot, I'm much more interested in the practice. Okay? And the science is robust, but I'm interested in the practice. So my advancer is, I'm so sorry, I did not put that in my hand. Where is that? All right, so here's a beautiful shot of Mount Adams, a really beautiful Abbey Retreat Center there. And I don't know if you can see the image from where you're sitting, but part of the image, of course, is pretty clear, right? It's the direct image. And then part of that image has some ripples, has a little bit of distortion. Okay? And sometimes what we'll realize when we're watching ourselves and our engagements is that the vision, the view, is a little distorted. It's a little rippled, okay? And it's totally natural. It's totally natural. So I'm gonna offer this quote as we get started, and this is by a great meditation teacher of the last century, and he said, "Do not undervalue attention. Do not undervalue attention." It means interest and also love. It means interest and also love. Okay. To know, to do, to discover, or to create, you must give your heart to it, which means attention. Right, so you give your heart. So this was Nisargadatta. Okay. I love this slide. I've used it for years. I want to learn to live in the moment, but not this moment. I would much prefer a moment on the beach or snowboarding or in the backyard with a barbecue, right? So this whole idea, this cultural idea, almost a meme at this point of, I want to be in the moment. Well, what's really interesting is that we always are. In fact, we can't ever be anywhere else, right? Life never happens anywhere but now. Okay? And the tools that we use in mindfulness training are really simply meant to help us remember. And I loved that that first slide was remembrance, okay? So we're remembering what's already true. This ability to be here, this innate capacity that we have to be in the moment. Okay? And of course, mindfulness has become really popular. Jon Kabat-Zinn, of course, back in '79, developed the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program. I trained with him in '99 when I was at Duke. It's become one of the most studied mind-body medicine interventions at the National Institutes of Health. And then we have Stephen Hayes' beautiful work also with acceptance and commitment therapy in the mid-90s. And of course, mindfulness is everywhere now, right? So you can get apps, and it's on YouTube, and there's books, and it's on magazines, and it's everywhere. And at a certain point, you're like, does it still mean anything to people, right? Because it's become so ubiquitous. I do hope it's the next public health revolution. I do hope that is true. We will see. Okay. So when we look at the randomized controlled trials of mindfulness meditation, and this is, again, with structured protocols, usually in BSR, but sometimes ACT, MBCT, but these formalized models, what we see are changes, significant improvements in this whole list of outcomes, right? So many ways that we suffer, right? So many ways that we suffer. So we have chronic pain, we have depression, fatigue, stress, cardiovascular disease, asthma, IBS, substance abuse, menopausal symptoms, immune function, aging process, blood pressure, attention concentration, cancer, and it goes on and on and on. Okay? So there is something magic about this practice. Okay? There's something truly therapeutic about being present, about being loving, which is what we're learning to do with mindfulness practice. Okay. So what we also know is that mindfulness changes brain structures, and these studies were all done in healthy subjects, and we see changes in all of these different areas of the brain. Okay. Again, with structured, formalized mindfulness training. And if you're not a neuroscientist, then what this means is that we're getting significant improvements in our ability to regulate our attention, our ability to have body awareness, our ability to have perspective taking, empathy and compassion, learning, cognition, memory, and emotion regulation, in particular, our ability to calm fear. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but in the work that I'm doing, like the baseline levels of fear are creeping up by the day. It is palpable. I had double the number of people sign up for MBSR in January. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So this ability to calm fear. Now, it doesn't mean that the fear is not warranted, but it does mean we do have to be able to tend these creatures that are living through this, right? Okay, so mindfulness, simply defined, is an open, non-judgmental, moment-to-moment awareness of what is present. Okay? So it requires nothing. You don't need a special cushion. You don't need a special mat. You definitely don't need stretchy pants. Like, it's just your ability to be present in the moment, open, non-judgmentally. Now, here's the thing. It is super simple, but it's not easy, okay? It's not easy. Where do you anticipate that your attention dwells the vast majority of your waking life? Where's your focus the vast majority of your waking life? Yeah, thank you. In the mind, isn't it? It's where it hovers. It's what we get reinforced to do. It's what we get trained to do. It's what we get paid to do, is to have our focus in our mind. But it's not the only show in town, of course. And how often does stress reactivity get augmented by the patterns of mind? Pretty often, right? So a lot of what we do with mindfulness practice, and everybody has had some experience with mindfulness practice, I suspect. Is that true? Yeah? Okay. So where do we start with mindfulness practice? What's the first thing that we start doing? Breath. Why do we do that? Yes, it's always there. Beautiful. Why else do we do it? It's a focal point. Yep. Yes. You had a good teacher. Yes, away from the monkeys in your brain. It's sensory, right? So we practice focusing our attention on the sensory aspect of our experience so that we learn to trust that we can let our attention rest somewhere besides the thinking mind, the discursive mind. Okay. So we start there. So let's take just a moment, and don't even adjust your seat, Katja. Did you feel the pattern of conditioning? It was beautiful. Right? So don't change anything. Don't change anything. Right? It doesn't require a certain seat even. Okay. Notice the experience of your bum, your cute bum, maybe cuter on some days than others, sitting in your chair. Can you feel it? Can you feel your bum? It's probably asleep at this point, right? Okay. Can you sense the crown of your head? Okay. Can you hear the fan of the projector there? Probably not in the back corner. Maybe so, yeah, you can hear. Okay. Can you feel the natural movement of your breath? Can you sense any emotional currents? What's your sweetheart expressing here now? Can you notice, this is a tricky one, what's your mind up to? Is it creating images, comments, comparisons, evaluation, liking, disliking? Is it writing the next great novel? What's it doing? Okay, now listen up. Notice that you notice. That capacity to be aware. It's innate. It is actually your birthright. It is your birthright. Okay. So we do practice focusing on the senses because the mind can go in 1,000 directions, right? It's this amazing, creative instrument, but we have to learn to use it skillfully. Okay. So when we do sit down to meditate, what we usually find is this, a tsunami of thoughts and feelings, like, right? Like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get my Zen on, and everything is going to be still and quiet and behaving, and then what happens? Then we remember the conversation we had with the patient an hour ago, right? We read the headlines of the newspaper, okay? It shows up, right? Whatever it is, it comes rushing in. So how do we develop skillful relationship with the tsunami of now? With the tsunami of now. Because it is. The storm is here, make no mistake. The storm is here. Okay. So part of what I've found to be so skillful with patients over the years and students of all nature, of all kinds, is that refining the quality of relationship with what is here is so important, right? There's so many battles being fought, right? There's so much conflict. So really practicing in ourselves, and anytime we engage these practices, to actually meet what is arising with kindness. We don't need more war in the inner landscape, right? So what's here, what's arising, can I meet it with curiosity, right? Can I meet it with receptivity? And can I relax out of the impulse to judge it, to hate it, to try to make it go away? Because what we practice, we get good at. And then it emanates out, doesn't it? Yeah. So this is completely natural. It's amazing that there's this huge industry around mindfulness because it's so natural. It is, you come in with it. And in fact, if you've ever had the great honor and privilege of staring into the eyes of children, what do you see? You see wonder. What else do you see? Innocence. Attention. What's the quality of that attention? Is it open? Is it non-judgmental? Don't we come in with it? So if we can remember, back to the first slide, if we can remember that this is actually already here. Okay. All right, now I am going to get totally kumbaya on you, so please forgive me. It's what I do best. What I'd like you to do is just turn to the person sitting beside you or the group of people sitting beside you. Don't say a word. And just see if you can recognize this in their eyes right now. Literally. Doesn't need to be defined, described, validated, qualified. It just is. It doesn't require anything. Right? So again, I will, and I know they do memes on Saturday Night Live about people staring into each other's eyes, so please forgive me. But this ability to just recognize that open, non-judgmental awareness is actually is looking you right in the face with every person you engage. Now, their attention may very well be swirling in the storm of now, right? But if you look, you'll see it. It's right here, okay? So this ability to recognize presence, is actually a powerful refuge in the eye of the storm. In the eye of the storm. So this open, non-judgmental awareness, okay, I sometimes like to think about this as a floodlight. Okay. It is, in the psychological community, they call this metacognition, right? It's that view, it's that capacity that we all have, 100%, to observe our own thinking. You notice when a thought comes up, right? You notice when there's a feeling that arises. You note if you're paying attention, even if you're not, you'll see, like you're still aware of it, right? You are aware of your thoughts, of your dreams, right? Who else is aware of your dreams but you? Okay. You're aware of when you get a cramp because food's not digesting easy, whatever it is. All right. So this metacognition, this ability to be aware, is like this floodlight. It's like the background of all of our experience. It's always right here. Okay. So again, here's Nisargadatta. He's a really beautiful teacher. Whatever you think, say, or do, this sense of immutable and affectionate being remains as the ever-present background of the mind, of the thinking mind. Go back to the kiddos. What shines in their eyes. Okay. So that ability to remember. Now, how often do we meet each other? Well, how often do we meet each other and don't look each other in the eyes? Like that's becoming more and more rampant, isn't it? Because we have devices in our hands, we have all kinds of excuses to not see? And how often does it not feel safe to see each other in the eyes? Okay. So that possibility of just like, oh, okay, and you don't have to add anything to it. It's just I see you. It's really that simple. I see you. I see this. Okay. So I love this image. I grew up in North Carolina. We had a number of hurricanes that we got to live through. Not anything like the one this year, but let's see if I can get the fast forward button. There it goes. Okay, so here's the storm. It's swirling. It's actual imagery. And of course, what do you see? What do you see in the image here of this hurricane? You see the eye. And it's the part that's not changing. Everything else is swirling, isn't it? Everything else is always swirling. Change is always happening. Okay. But isn't this eye of the storm always right here? You that is aware. Okay. I'm sorry, I think the quote you said this morning was, integrity begins with I for a reason. Okay. Begins with I. So it is this aware present? It is so simple. It is so simple. And it's why we've had over thousands of years people practicing to remember. To remember. Okay. So here's another image that actually comes from the center. I get to look at Snoopy to see what time it is. Look at this. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so we have another image from a hurricane, and this literally is in the eye of the storm. It's completely still. It's completely silent. So, sometimes we use language like centered. I felt centered, I felt steady. Isn't that what we're speaking to? It's like we tap into this. It's already here. And I present this in this way because I think sometimes mindfulness begins to feel so out of reach because we've created such a bunch of hoo-ha around it, right? And the practices are important. They help us remember. But it's always here. It's actually always here. Okay, so we get good at what we practice, all right? So we're going to do just a really simple practice. Don't move. Okay. All right. So just notice that you're breathing. And notice if there's any impulse to try to fix the breath or change it or muck around in there. And what would it be like for a few moments to really trust the breath to breathe itself? Trust life to move. For now. Notice that it won't take long before attention wanders off, intrigued by something else. Welcome to humanity. Notice that it's you who notices. And with as little effort as possible, without holding on, without pushing away, just coming back to the feeling of the breath. Keep it simple. Giving your care, which means giving your love to your breath, as if it was deeply valued, cherished even. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. 2 minutes max. Can you feel the shift in the room? It's powerful stuff. So one of the tenets of mindfulness is acceptance, and acceptance is a really tricky word, especially in days like these, right? Because Acceptance can sound like don't resist, don't fight for what you believe in, don't stand up for whatever your North Star is. But of course, that's not what acceptance is. It's really the willingness to have the experience you are having, because in this moment, it's actually the truth of things. So when we have that complete, like, torrent of anxiety before you get up in front of a room of people you don't know, okay? Right? Or you have that, like, wild irritation when yet another headline says that some institution you value is being diminished. Right? What is it in that moment, just for 2 breaths or 3 breaths, to feel what that's like to feel it? Help the nervous system digest that movement. Keep it simple. Keep it really simple. Okay. And again, we have enough battles happening, don't we? What is it to not fight against your experience? To stay present with it. Be kind to it. I mean, Rumi goes so far as to say, stand at the door, welcome in, laughing. Right? Well, that might be a lot, but it's an option. So, of course, acceptance is not giving up. It's not resignation. It's not quitting. It's not avoiding. It's not dismissing. Right? But it is it's that willingness to stand in the eye of the storm and feel the storm. Feel the storm. Because here's the other thing, is you have the capacity 100% to feel the storm. So I'm going to go back to Nisargadatta, and again, he said, do not undervalue attention. It means interest and also love. Okay. To know, to do, to discover, to create, you must give your heart to it, which means attention. Okay, so here in this description, he's also speaking to love. Okay. So the dignity is the ability to stay present, open, the eye of the storm. And then the compassion is the love. Right? The compassion is the love. So love, okay, I'm going to get even more woo, welcome, but we have data for this, which I know makes people happy. So, so love is actually a superpower. Right? And we might think that in our, we might say that with our friends or our beloveds, but we would never say it at a board meeting. Right? And we're probably not going to say it at the Fred Meyers. But love actually does sit at the center of all of the ways the heart, the emotional heart, blossoms. Okay? So what in the heck is she talking about now? So when we feel hopeless to change a situation, how many people find that experience? More than one time a day. Honestly, right? Hopeless to change what's happening right here. Okay? It's true. It's absolutely true. What is the thing that you love? And it might be an idea, it might be a person, it might be a situation. What is it that you love that's driving the hopelessness? Do you love the idea that people are taken care of? Do you love the idea that institutions serve people? Do you love the idea of justice? Do you love the idea of dignity? Right? So when we find this current of emotional feeling is moving, there's something in the heart of it that we love. Because if we, as was said earlier this morning again, it was so funny, if you don't care, it doesn't matter. If you don't care, it doesn't matter. So love really is sitting at the center. So likewise, if we're fearful of where things are headed, who's had that experience? Fearful, right? So there's going to be something, someone, or an idea that we love that's fueling that fear. What do we love? Anybody willing to say it? When we're fearful about where we're headed. I love democracy. I love the idea of democracy. I love the idea of due process. I love the national parks. So love sits at the center. But it's easy to get off kilter, right? To forget what it is we love. It's the North Star. Why do you do what you do? Okay. We're angry about policies that are increasing burden on people, on families, on workforces. Okay. What do we love in that when we feel that anger? What do we love? We love relationships. Connection. Yeah. There's love at the center. And when we're saddened about feeling like we're just out of options for patients, I can't leverage anything else out of this institution. When sadness arises, sorrow, grief, what do we love? We love the sanctity of the work. Yeah. What else do we love? We love our patients. Yeah. We love access. Yeah. Okay. So if we can remember that love is at the center, and this is not rainbows and unicorns, although rainbows and unicorns are fun, okay? But it helps us remember the North Star, right? So dignity and compassion. We can also call that presence and love, okay? Which again is our birthright. It is our birthright. Oh, there. What is your North Star? Why do you do what you do? What do you love? And this, again, is in no way to diminish the complete overwhelm, right? And tenderness and grief that has been so clearly shared, right? Demonstrated. It's not that. But this is what can't be taken away. Your presence cannot be taken away. The capacity of your heart cannot be taken away. Okay. So here's this quote again. So when a system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to lift the entire system to a higher order. Small islands of coherence. Well, what is that? Coherence. I see you. I feel you. I have love for you. It doesn't matter if we don't agree, right? That's not the game. Right? That's the coherence. So one of my teachers said, we are here to build an army of lovers. I like that, right? An army of lovers. If we're going to fight, let's fight that battle, right? So to be able to find in the eye of the storm the resilience of presence and the resilience of love, okay? To feel that in yourself and to find whatever those practices are that help you remember, right? That help you remember. So take just a moment. I think Snoopy has got one more minute for me or so. So take just a moment and don't move. It's not stylized. See if you can. It's like you would tune the dial on an old-fashioned radio where you still got to use your hands this way. Okay. And you tuned the dial of the radio to the feeling of love. It does not have to be fireworks. But see if you can just let yourself orient to that in you. Super simple. Not always easy. Super simple. And with as little effort as possible, and you open your eyes if they're not already open, see if you can sense what that's like to have this enlivened as you're taking in the world. What is that like? It's simple. Okay, well, that's all I got. Right. Anybody? Recipes? Songs? Questions? No. Okay.
How do you get your patients to practice that all the time?
Now that takes work. I love Bob Dylan's phrase. I use it a lot. Like, I am just a song and dance girl. Like, I mean, the whole thing is to actually get people inspired to do the work. Because you can read all kinds of books about mindfulness, you can listen to all kinds of podcasts, you can do all kinds of things. You can buy all the right, tight Lycra pants or whatever they are. But if you don't do the work, nothing happens, right? So it really is, it's like, how do you find the inspiration? How do you meet people where they are, right? And how do you keep, the trick that I had, and I've used this, it happened, do you want to hear a story? It happened when I was actually in college, and I was working in a state psychiatric hospital during the summer to get experience for grad school, and and some of the people, I was one of those recreation techs, where you're paid to, like, I played cards and like Clue or whatever the board games were, and I was so taken by what I could see in people's, like, it didn't matter how dysregulated their thought pattern was. The presence in their eyes was the same. And I was like, it just kept showing itself over and over and over again. And I was like, whoa. So when I'm working with, it's tricky, it's interesting on Zoom, because a lot of my classes are on Zoom now. It's like, how to maintain that, when space and time become much more fluid, which of course those digital platforms allow. But to be able to never forget your own seat. Right? And I think people feel that. When you're the eye of the storm, people feel that, So but it's an ongoing discovery of how to best encourage people to try it and see what happens. Yeah. And I will tell one story. I think I have one more minute. Susan's heard this one, so please forgive me. So many amazing things happen when people discover their ability to be present and stay open to their experience. And this was on bone marrow transplant, and I was doing bedside service for a while, and there was this fellow who was really struggling, really sick, and asked if I would come in and help because they couldn't get his pain levels under control, and I'm like, you're gonna ask, like, what? I got nothing, right? So, but I was like, I'm happy to help, so I went in and met the guy, built some relationship with he and his wife, really lovely fella, and he had a cancer that they were having to use arsenic to treat, and it was just like wrecking his system, and so he had this pain that nothing was touching, and I said, well, tell me about the pain. Let me understand what you're going through. Help me understand. And he said, well, it's kind of like somebody took a screwdriver and shot it down my neck and started going like this. And I was like, whoa. It's like, yep, that's immense pain. And I said, so what would you call it? And he said, well, it's absolute misery. Well, of course it is, right? So from the classical teachings and meditation tradition, so what he had just done was he had just named for me Nama Rupa. He had just given me the name of how his mind was making sense of this experience, and he'd given me the form, which was the screwdriver, the name in the form. So I asked him, and I said, I don't know if this will help, but I'm happy to share with you some tools and let's see what happens. And he's like, whatever, whatever. And I said, well, what would it be like if you were to explore relaxing out of that image? Relax your focus out of that image. And so he was able to go in and he relaxed, he withdrew his focus from that image of the screwdriver. And I said, and would it be possible if you're able to relax out of the label, misery? And he did. And within a few minutes, this fella who had been at a 10 plus and nothing in the pharmaceutical arsenal could touch his pain, he was completely out of pain. Now, it didn't last. This is not, it's not comic book stuff. But what it did do is it gave him a reclaimed sense of agency, that how he could work with his interior landscape, even at really profound levels of suffering, right, gave him, and again, that wasn't even a long, extended, committed meditation practice. That was just in the moment, working skillfully with attention and consciousness. Right? So it depends on who it is, what the context is, like what the struggle is that folks are navigating. But maybe it'll be the next revolution. That'd be amazing. Good. Anything else? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, in green.
I was intrigued by the idea of focusing on the love that is connected to the fear and all the other the intensity I'm trying to get rid of. And I'm wondering if the dial metaphor, if you're finding one might be finding. A friend, I'm asking for a friend. That when you turn the dial on the love, it also turns the dial on the anger, the sadness, the everything.
Yes, yes, of course. The heart is so powerful. And that sometimes when we tune to the feeling of love, the potency of love, then those other energies feel safe to be seen. And they'll start moving, right? So one of the things that a language structure that I'll use with people sometimes that can help is that, so the Latin root of the word emotion is emote, right? It's to move. Emotions need to move. They literally need to move. They're energies that need to move through the system. And we don't have oftentimes contexts that allow that to happen. So when we begin to relax in, then sometimes things that need to move then feel free to move, right? So when they do, first, just like thank the system for feeling safe enough, right? And then just like you would extend kindness to that friend that you're asking about, right? To that friend, that you would just feel, oh, there's the anger. Thank you for showing yourself. And there's the sorrow. Yeah. Creating space for that. And the fear. Yeah. There's something really, really important about being seen. And sometimes the seeing is just here, right inside. Yeah.
That friend, I'm sure will really appreciate that.
Well, yeah, please send my best. Yeah. And I really do. I feel like that's part of the superpower of love, is that when we tune to that, it creates a safe space. And then things can move. Right? Yeah. Beautiful. Yes, thank you guys so much.
I wasn't going to say anything except about the QR code, but it's my job to wrap up a little bit. And you have me reflecting that part of the power of us meeting in person when we get the opportunity to do that is that it's easier to find that love in community, right? I also think everything that you've said calls back to Dr. Rushton's talk this morning. This is a form of integrity. This is one way of finding and maintaining your integrity in the face of adverse circumstances. So I do feel like we came full circle today. I hope that was as profound for you as it was for me. I will say I never cry at vascular surgery conferences. Anyway, we do still, yeah, maybe I should. Well, I don't go to vascular surgery. There's a reason I don't go to vascular surgery conferences anymore. Dave, do the QR codes on the tables work for the eval, or do we just do evaluations tomorrow at the end? You can start the evaluation whenever you're ready. Okay. But for sure, you have to, this is your last chance to register your attendance for today. If you want continuing education credit, you need to do that today. The QR code is also in your, I guess it's not really your last chance because it's also in your packet, but you do have to do that. We will meet here at the same place tomorrow, 7 a.m. breakfast. Ceremonies will commence at 8:15, and we hope you have a great evening in this beautiful setting, and we will see you all tomorrow.